What is this political philosophy, time traveling science fiction book about? Hello, welcome to I Read This Book with Chris. This guy here, he's Chris. Today we will be discussing Poul Anderson, There Will Be Time. While discussing There Will Be Time, we got here a PBR. What is There Will Be Time by Poul Anderson? One, it's a book with a really ugly cover. It's all red, different shades of red. I don't know what's going on here. Font, nothing's. Doesn't look anything super exciting, but it's time travel, and I love time travel. Time travel, impossible. There's no machine that can take you into time, past or future. But what if you are born a time traveler? Jack Havoc did not know how he could cross the centuries merely by willing himself to. The fact remained he could. And, thought Jack, if I can travel through time, there must be others. Published in 1973. The story is told by his doctor. He is born a time traveler. His first time travel happens when he is a small child, can't even talk yet. He eventually confides with his doctor that he can travel through time. And basically what happens is Jack doesn't really fit in. He learns he's a time traveler, wanting to fit in and meet other time travelers to a point in a place where everyone else is going to be. And what is that point in that place? The crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ. He flies over to Israel, travels back in time, and meets some other time travelers. He meets another American, and he, is pretty excited about that. And they're like, well, we are trying to build a society of time travelers. Do you want to come? And he says, sure. So him and all the time travelers that are met go and create a society. They go back to the time and place, which is somewhere near Wisconsin, in a post-apocalyptic world. There is a nuclear war in the 21st century at some point, knocks out most of civilization everywhere, and new fiefdoms are popping up, run by small bands of men, little colonies here, there. And so this is the time where we can exist and can grow our numbers, and don't have a whole lot of time travelers, so we can have some other people there too who can help, grow food and all that stuff that's necessary. Jack learns after doing a couple of trips with these guys, going back trying to set up this organization, that the guy who's running the place, whose whole idea was to do it, who has given himself the title of the Sachem, is a racist, and he knew he was a racist, coming from the early 1800s in America, so he's not surprised by that. But also is willing to do whatever he wants in a bloodthirsty, ruthless manner. Jack learns this because one of his trips is to go back to the sacking of Constantinople in 1204. So he goes back there, and they're like, well, what we're going to do is this sacking's going to happen anyway. There's just one timeline. You can't change what's going on, but you can go back, find gold that is not being looted, and we can go back, protect some people, loot the gold, but the gold was going to disappear anyway. They're going to lose their gold. Maybe we can save their lives and help them a little bit. And Jack says, oh yeah, we can do that. It's going to happen anyway, but we can go and make it a little less harder and, get some of the crumbs of the sacking. So he does that, only to come back later when he's not supposed to, and finds the people, these time travelers that he thought were going and protecting these civilians, were actually just as ruthless as the people sacking the city, killing and raping and stealing. He knew they were stealing, but all this other stuff, he's just like, I can't. So he kills some of them and becomes a fugitive. He gets captured by this time travel society, the Eries, and is freed by one of his time traveling companions, but joins with the Erie and realizes they're just as crappy as Jack realizes they are, and they escape. At which point, trying to figure out what to do, they go and they talk to the doctor, Jack's friend, his only confidant, and the doctor says, well, we have things and abilities that these people don't have, and you can use this to your advantage. So the doctor's suggestion was this guy running the Eries, this Acom, he's not thinking at a deep enough level, so you should be able to beat him. Jack had, trying to figure out, because when you're traveling back in time, you basically just say zoom out, going forward, and you float through time, and you see the sun rising and lowering, and you can do this, and by watching it happen, or if you have a clock in the room, you can watch the clock change, and you can know what time you're changing to. But if you're at a spot where there's no clocks, or you're going back hundreds of years or thousands of years, trying to find the exact point is a little difficult. And what they were doing, they were just hopping in, going back, seeing how close they were, and, aiming in. Look, Jack, every time traveler hits the bloody nuisance of targeting on a desired moment. To you, it was a matter of course to consider the problem, decide what would solve it, an instrument, and find a company which was able to accept your commission to invent the thing for you. It never occurred to Wallace, to any of his gang, that approach doesn't come natural to them. Take advantage of that. You've made a beginning, and in your research beyond, in the Maori period, who is a group that comes later, after the nuclear apocalypse, it may seem incredible to you that Wallace's people haven't done the same kind of in-depth study. Remember, though, he's from a time when foresight was at a minimum. A time when everybody was assuming logging and strip mining could go on forever. Jack, from the painfully gathered learning of the race, you can profit. What do you propose? Nothing specifically, everything generally. Concentrate more on strategy than tactics. Don't try to campaign by your lone selves against an organization. No, better start an outfit. Where did the members come? Everywhere and everywhen. Wallace showed a degree of imagination in recruiting his recruiting efforts, but his methods were crude, his outlook parochial. For instance, surely more travelers are present in that day in Jerusalem. His agents latched onto those who are obvious and quit. There must be better ways to notice the rest. And through this advice from their doctor friend, they create an organization who's basically going to go and do a coup on the Eries. They're going to be able to do this because the Eries, one, aren't looking outside Europe. They are racist. They are not spending a whole lot of time looking. I mean, they're spending a lot of time, but they're not thinking about how to look. So they're finding whoever they are getting and then using them. And like he says here, there's problems that you can probably get solved not too hard if you just go and you stop and you think about it before you just go and try to brute force it. So Jack and his companion start a new society. They go back in time to before the Ice Age. So they set up their crew, and then they all come back in time, and through thinking about strategy and thinking about these tactics, they are able to do a coup on the Erie. It's actually really, really cool thinking about it. If you did have time travel, how could you do it and have it be a surprise? So they had a bunch of people get there on the ground and then time travel to the point, right? And they all have these machines, these chronometers, which tell you the exact moment. And you set it the time, and it can tell by looking at the stars in the sky, at the location of the sun in the sky, when you are exactly to the moment, to the second. So you can have everyone go and teleport in, time travel in at the exact same time. They also went and they had people jump out of airplanes in the 20th century. And then, while they were in the air, time travel forward to the right time, at which point they then come back into the present, parachute in, and there you are. All of a sudden, people falling from the sky who literally weren't there a second earlier. Like, they have a ton of cool tactics they use to do a coup on these Erie, at which point they're able to take over, killing the least amount of people possible, and then capturing everyone else. All of the people who were untrustworthy, they were able to, by taking a drug from this future organization, this future society, use this drug which basically brainwashes you, and they're able to do that to everyone, sending them back to their own time where they just thought they were crazy and having a dream, and they just continued to live out their natural lives. At which point, Jack and his companion and this phase 2 of the Eries take this society and do their best to use it for good. And the book ends with them, all the time travelers, hopping on spaceships and flying off to other planets. Because, they say, for whatever reason, it works. It's a little confusing why it does. If we are to go into fly in a ship from here to Alpha Centauri, it'll take you years of traveling at the speed of light, even going faster than the speed of light, or not even close to the speed of light, which most of these ships are able to do. It would take hundreds of years. So what they do is they take the time travelers, throw them on the spaceship, and once they get in space, for whatever reason, they are then able to travel forward in time, staying attached to the spaceship. Here on Earth, they stay attached to the Earth, but for whatever reason, when they're in the spaceship, they're able to stay attached to the spaceship. So they can go and travel, and it'll only take a few minutes or hours of their life to make the 100-year journey from here to the future to these other star systems. This book is about time travel, obviously. What if people were able to time travel? But it's also, I think, what it's really about, what it's more about. And I mean, it is a political philosophy book. It takes a little while to get there because it's setting up everything, but it shows you here are some different societies, and here's why they don't work, and here is the way that things should be. The first society, we can call the nuclear society. It is the track America was on in the 1970s. So this was 1973. Atomic bomb dropped in the 1945. It's been 30 years of atomic bombs. The world's changed very drastically because of the ability of the atomic bomb, and it doesn't seem like a whole lot was going to change. It doesn't say a whole lot about it and why this society was bad. But obviously, a society which bombs itself, probably because the people weren't paying enough attention and were just enjoying life enough. That's not very good. If you are a society that kills itself by using atomic bombs, that's not a great society. The next society, we can call the Erie. They have like a Confederate mentality. It's not a society you would want to live in. Even if you had the ability to go back to live in a society like this and you were the people on top, you probably wouldn't want to. It's monarchy ruled by Wallace, the Sachem, who controls everything. Where if you are white and a time traveler, life's great. And if you're not, this is a little quote. I'm not going to read all of it. Of Wallace, the Sachem, the guy running the place, is saying to Jack, "I gather you were keeping a wench in Constantinople, and she fell sick and had to be let go," Wallace said. "Too bad. I sympathize, kind of. Still, you know, lad, in a way you brought it on yourself. And on her." The big bald head swayed. "Yes, you did. I'm not telling you God has punished you. That could be. But nature does give people what they deserve, and it is not fitting for a proper white man to bind himself to a female like that. She was a Levantine, you know, which means mongrel, Armenian, Asiatic, Husky." And it goes on with some more slurs that I don't think should be read. No. Part of your pay, I guess. Sampling damn near anyone you want, when you want her, and no nonsense out of her or anyone else. He scowled. "But Jack, you married this. There's more wrongness in that meets the eye. It's what you call a symbolic thing. You bring yourself down because a mixed breed can't possibly be raised to your level. And so you bring your whole race down." This third group, society, that also fails is the Maori. Maurai. Morai. The Morai. They are so after the apocalypse, nuclear apocalypse happens. This group, the Maori, Morai. This group, the Morai. This society comes to exist. It is somewhere in the Asian Pacific Ocean is where it starts. Doesn't say exactly who, Thailand or the Philippines or China or something like that. The Maori, that could be Hawaii or the natives of New Zealand. That's a similar name, right? But I mean, this 100 years in the future when this society comes together. But somewhere over there, they seem to be doing things right. But it's also a society which fails. Or rather, than this is Jack. He tries to figure out if this Maury people is going to be the solution to his Erie problem. And while doing so, he meets this guy who he confines a little bit with as the guy is getting old. And so he explains a little bit of it. Definitely not the same confidant as his doctor. Or rather, do you not have the feeling of a strange dichotomy, uptime, as you say, between two concepts which our Maury ideal was to keep in balance? Science, rationality, planning, control. Myth, the liberated psyche, man as an organic part of nature whose righteousness transcends knowledge and wisdom. It seems to me, from what you tell, that the present overvaluation of machine technology is a passing rage. Kijimu says, a reaction. Not unjustified. We Maori grow overbearing. Worse, we grew self-righteous. We made that which had once been good into an idol. But according to your report, Jack, my friend, this is a spasm. Afterward, the bulk of mankind will reject scientism, will reject science itself, and only keep what ossified technology is needful to maintain the world. They will become ever more inward-turning, contemplative, mystical. The common man will look to the sage for enlightenment, who will himself look into himself. So this Maori society seems to do, what's right? They say, hey, technology is great. We're gonna balance that and with the ability to be free, to be artistic, the ability to have control. We're supposed to balance these two things, and these two things don't balance out. The scientism and the control overpowers everything else. At which point, this love of science, of treating science like a religion, the scientism will be rejected. At which point, people will not only reject scientism, but will reject science. And this society collapse is not as dangerous as the nuclear society. Not as dark and terrifying, needing a coup like this Confederate Erie society. It's more of an enlightening, progressive society. But it also fails because you can't balance those things. So Poul is saying, hey, the track society is on is not good, right? It's nuclear. Nuclear annihilation, not good. But these other two ways people are trying to go down won't work either. It's going to fail for many reasons. It's not a good society. No one wants it, and it's going to lead to an uprising, whether the people are righteous or not when they do. And it's going to be easy to have an uprising, because if you only are going after white people to gain power, that means there's all these other people who aren't white, who have the ability to time travel, right? You're going to miss them because they aren't good enough. And any of these other ones that you find, you just use for your own purposes and miss out on all of this good stuff. But the Maori society also does not work, because you can't have this top-down control that you want, which is what the society has. Energy production was doing to the world, so one of the things they do, this Maori society, is they limit the amount of energy you can use, which means they can never leave the Earth and go to space, because to do that you need a lot of energy, which you can't get according to their society, according to their rules. So what exactly is this world that Poul is suggesting we should be going after? So this is the doctor talking to Jack right before they leave to go colonize other planets. Well, I'd hardly expected I'd entertain a king and a queen. What? Havig blinked in surprise. We aren't. Eh? You rule the rule uptime, don't you? No. For a while we did, because someone had to, but we worked together with the wisest people we could find, not exclusively travelers by any means, to end this as soon as might be, and turn the military society into a free republic, and at last into nothing more than a sort of a loose guild. Fire springing aloft from when she worked in the bellows cast gleams from Leonce's eyes, into nothing less than a dream. At which point, they go and they tell the doctor, hey, we're going to space. I mean, a civilization which just sat down and stared at his own inwardness, how soon would it become stagnant, castrated, poor, and nasty? You can't think unless you have something to think about, and this has to come from outside, doesn't it? The universe is immeasurably larger than any mind. What is this political philosophy, time-traveling science fiction book about? What is this society? This good society, how does it run? What is it about? How does it work? It seems to me the best words to describe it are some sort of anarcho-capitalist, libertarian. He's not super clear, but he thinks nuclear is bad. He thinks racism is bad. He thinks control is bad. He thinks when you have power, you should get rid of it when you can. When society has the ability to accept it. This is what the government should become in time. He's not a revolutionary anarchist, but he thinks that eventually it should all just disappear, work its way down. Which sounds great, but I don't know if that works. He talks in here at the end. In the long view, without a great enemy, the thing would never have been. Without the great enemy, the Eerie, this racist society, who did go and create the society which he and his group took over. It never would have been. This peaceful spacefaring group could never have been if it wasn't for his enemies who actually created the thing that he took over. And the Moray might have gathered the resources to revive space exploration at the height of their power, but they did not. Their ban on enormous energy outlays was good at first, yes, vital to saving this planet. At last, though, like most good things, it became a fetish. Undoubtedly, the culture which followed them would not have gone into space. He says these things are good. These other things do good things. However, and having the power that they do, and the way they exercise it, even if they have good things, it doesn't lead to good. I don't know. There Will Be Time by Poul Anderson, I think is a pretty good book. Definitely not the best. It's time travel. I like the idea of time travel. The genetic time traveler is a fun idea. The story being told by his doctor, who is there his whole life, who birthed him, and then was there as he left the Earth in order to travel the stars. That's a fun idea. The way of using time travel as a political philosophy, way to discuss that, that's fun. Overall, it's a good book. I don't agree with his politics. I don't know that it'll work. But maybe that's just because I'm stuck in one time and I can't travel through time. Thanks for watching. Forward. Be at ease. I'm not about to pretend this story is true. First, that claim is a literary convention which went out with Theodore Roosevelt of happy memory. Second, you wouldn't believe it. Third, any tale signed with my name must stand or fall as entertainment. I am a writer, not a cultist. Fourth, it is my own composition. Where doubts or gaps occur in that mass of notes, clippings, photographs, and recollection of words spoken which was bequeathed to me, I have supplied conjectures. Names, places, and incidents have been changed as seemed needful. Throughout my narrative uses the techniques of fiction. Finally, I don't believe a line of it myself. Oh, we could get together, you and I, and ransack official files, old newspapers, yearbooks, journals, and so on forever. But the effort and expense would be large. The results, even if positive, would prove little. We have more urgent jobs at hand. Our discoveries could conceivably endanger us. These pages are merely for the purpose of saying a little about Dr. Robert Anderson. I do owe the book to him. Many of the sentences are his, and my aim throughout has been to capture something of his style and spirit in memoriam. In memoriam. That's the word.